Hello, everybody. Welcome. It is the Benjamin Bloom Show, and by God, for the first time since March, it's a championship game week review. We haven't had one for 4 months, 3 months. 3 months, isn't it? And it is so good to be back. All the championship went off without a hitch. I think generally everyone seems to think that the games were good and the intensity levels were good, and we can at last talk about some football. So this is the review of this game week 38. We're going to look at all 12 games. A very good weekend if you are a Brentford fan or a Wigan fan or a Charlton fan, maybe a Cardiff fan. A few teams taking advantage, and the table shaping up in ways that are very good for the neutral, it has to be said, but not necessarily good for some of the teams in positions going into this week. Make yourself known by either hitting the thumbs up button or getting a comment in. We'll go through every single one of the games. I'll give you my thoughts. We'll have a good look at the table and how things are looking. Remember, no midweek stuff in the Championship coming up. Premier League are playing, Championship are not, so we'll look ahead at next week's fixtures later in the week. But obviously, we will mention a couple of very big games at the top. Feels like everything has been set up in these first 2 game weeks to either give us a promotion race or seal a promotion race, depending on how the results go. As always, just the ticker along the bottom says support the channel by using Super Chat in YouTube. You can donate that way or get involved. Subscribe on Patreon to support the channel. Perks as and when and how we get more subscribers and I can give it more time. But at the moment, a good bunch there already. Go and join them. Let's start at the very top, and they didn't start the weekend at the top, but they have ended it at the top. The Baggies, West Brom. It was West Brom 0, Birmingham 0 up at the Hawthorns. Yes, Ben says, or a Blackburn fan as well. So yes, we agree. Good weekend for Blackburn. Sorry I missed them out. But yes, you would have thought yesterday after the 0-0 draw for West Brom and after the Brentford win that we're going to talk about, West Brom might have been worried, but it's actually turned out okay for them. And I mean, when you look at the top 2 generally, they're okay, aren't they? Yesterday there was a lead of 7 points and 8 points, and now it's just 7 points each of them with 1 game more ticked off. So we know how these leads evaporate, though, so we will see how it all transpires. But Birmingham certainly seeming to go to West Brom, playing quite defensively and managing to hold out. Very strong-looking West Brom squad. They look nice and fit. Diangana back on the bench. Higazi back into the defence. 8 to go for the Baggies, 7-point lead. You would think Birmingham would be pleased with that point, clean sheet. They have a similar issue. They're 7 points clear of relegation with 8 to go. Although more pertinent probably for Birmingham is that they've been cleared in lockdown with the FFP appeals and whatnot with the EFL. So no danger like a couple of other teams we can mention of them dropping down further. So West Brom, top of the table. Birmingham looking safe-ish in 16th as Pep Clotet sees out his final games after his first season and his only season, presumably his only season, assuming he never comes back, as Birmingham manager, and they look for a new boss. Dethroned at the top of the table were Leeds United. Leeds, we covered it today. Leeds going down 2-0 at Cardiff. Check out elsewhere on the channel. Let's have a quick look here. Mark, who's a West Brom fan. We seriously seem to struggle at home with teams who put 10 behind the ball, but very happy with being top. Rico, West Brom finished my ACCA then to be honest, I would have been on West Brom as well. It wasn't the craziest bet anybody has ever put on, for sure. Anyway, back to this one. So Leeds, typical pattern of a Leeds game, where they dominate, a couple of big moments go against them, and they end up not scoring and losing despite having lots of possession and lots of shots. We've seen and talked about that type of performance over and again in Bielsa's reign. Shouldn't be pressing the panic button too quickly, the Leeds fans. Hopefully they are not. But Hoylett and Glatzel with the goals. Cardiff very, very clinical with their finishing. Big missed chance for Leeds. Could have gone 10 points clear. Hernandez likely to be back for the Fulham game. That will make a difference for them. Cardiff got it right on the day, didn't they? Played it pretty well. And now they move up right level on points with Preston. Sort of 7th place, but joint 6th when you look at it that way. Very, very much in the playoff positions. It's very open in the playoffs now, and we'll go on to that when we talk about Forest, who drew. And, you start to see things start to concertina as they always seem to do. A couple of comments. Mally, the Bees must be buzzing. Friday looks a tasty fixture. West Brom versus Brentford on Friday, Leeds versus Fulham on Saturday. You could not have scheduled it any better. Noel says good point for Birmingham. Yes, absolutely it was. Ben says typical when I want Leeds to win, they slip up. There we go. Absolutely agree with all of that. Moving on, the first championship game back was the early kickoff on Saturday. Again, covered this one, so do check out in the archives on the YouTube channel. You can see all the coverage of Fulham Brentford. Really big win, big performance for Brentford. They hung in there. They played Mitrovic pretty well. They got the substitutions right. On comes Marcondes. He sets Ben Rama up, and then he scores the decisive goal to make it 2-0. Really, really big win for the Bees, who have closed up on everybody. The only winners in the top 6, aren't they? Yes, nobody else won. A lot of the chasers won. We'll have a good look at the table in a minute. But yeah, really, really good week for Brentford. And if Brentford can beat West Brom, that gap goes down to 4 points, and we have an automatic promotion race on all of a sudden. You know what it's like when the pressure ramps up in the Championship, and this midweek is the only midweek off. After this, it's going to be Saturday midweek, right through, even for these playoff teams, all the way through to the playoff final, pretty much. So it's going to be intense from now going forward. So that next game week, really, really important before the fixtures go crazy. Disappointing performance for Fulham, but they can make amends in the best way. They go to Elland Road in a huge game, which we'll be covering next Saturday. It's a 3 p.m. kickoff, a rarity for Leeds, that one, isn't it? Moving on to Forest, who will be very, very disappointed to have conceded a late goal at Hillsborough. Joe Lolly gave them the lead. It did look like a bit of a typical Forest away performance, it had to be said. XG in Wednesday's favour, and a miraculous block from Worrell at one point on the goal line. However, Lolly does the business. Great first touch and finish by him to run in behind, in off the right on that left foot. Great player. Lolly, is he going to have a good run in? That would really, really help Forest out, wouldn't it? But Connor Wickham, ex-Ipswich player Connor Wickham, managed to get the equaliser, I think, in stoppage time, certainly very, very late in the game, to take a point, or take 2 points off Forest and give Wednesday a point. Forest, a little bit, we'll look at the table, as I said at the end, a little bit sucked in now with these 3 winners just outside the playoffs. Who was it? Millwall, Blackburn and Swansea all pushing forward. Dave says 1 win in 7 for them a bit. Is that Wednesday we're talking about? Would sound about right, wouldn't it? So Wednesday, the other issue, of course, is FFP. They have an 8-point cushion above the drop zone with 8 to go, but any guilty charges and FFP deductions, and they have trouble there. Owen says Forest conceded late and should be level with Brentford. Yes. Forest still in there, nicely positioned, but just a 4-point gap now for them over 7th place. Excuse me. There we go. Oh, Dave says 1 win is 7 for Forest. That's not good form. But remember, Forest will be hard to beat under Lamouchi, who has that new contract now, doesn't he? Let's move on to 6th place. Preston, who will have equal disappointment to Forest because they conceded a late goal down at Luton as well. Scott Sinclair, nice cut in off the left to give them the lead. Similar story to Forest, isn't it? Preston, actually, I have to say, I looked at their first 11. They look strong. It looks like they've got all of their players fit at once now, ready for this start, although I still don't quite understand Alan Brown playing fullback. But when you look, and it was Gallagher and Johnson and Barkhausen and Maguire and Sinclair, look like a strong first 11 for Preston. So that will bode well for them. They need to pick up points in these away games, and they did not manage to get all 3 here. Callum McManaman with the equaliser, 87th minute. So decent start back for Nathan Jones. Preston look like the hunted, don't they? Preston in 6th place. I said that was the position that was up for grabs. And if you see, I know all of these teams will win one, maybe lose one, and it'll go up and down. But everyone takes aim at that 6th place, and Preston are in that position and maybe not putting on the points as quickly as they will need to be. Definitely would want to be following this one up with a win, and then things start to be looking better. Nathan Jones' first game back. Reasonable start on paper, as in drawing with a 6th place side. But when you look down at the bottom there, 3 of the bottom 6, or that were in the bottom 6 at the start of the weekend, all winning. We know it's a quite high standard. We're expecting it. If someone can keep up and make the chase, unless the bottom 3 just get cut adrift, we're expecting sort of 4th bottom to be around possibly 50 points mark, which would be a much higher total than in previous years. So you're going to have to be winning. Ben says, Preston on a bad run, going to be a tight race for 6. I agree 100%. And in that race for 6 were these 2 teams, Blackburn and Bristol City. So this was a real direct chase for the playoff game. And Blackburn get the win. They go up into 8th. And they beat, Bristol City 3-1. However, Bristol City took the lead in this one. Patterson capitalising on a mistake in the goal from Walton. But Blackburn turn it around very, very nicely. Evans, well, that was another goalkeeper mistake, wasn't it? Adarabio with a nice curl it in, although again, Bentley got a hand to that. You would have thought he would have saved it. And Armstrong, who came up in the chat in the preview as a threat for Blackburn, he's having a good season, and he scored the 3rd for Rovers. So good win for Blackburn. At it, looking good. I think Bradley Dack is back training. He wasn't on the bench. Strangely, they went for Brereton and Gallagher up front, the 2 expensive, possibly flop strikers. So Mowbray giving them both a go, and they're looking good. They're in there, aren't they? They are in with a shout. Bristol City, the exact opposite, obviously losing to a direct rival. Not much in the game, so the big moments going against Bristol City. Nice to see Benik Afobe back. He, I think, played 20, 25 minutes at the end after the year he has had. Ben says, squad looked deep, looked fit as well. Dark horses turned contenders. You're talking about Blackburn, Ben? Quite possibly. And Blackburn, a lot of players back in midfield over the lockdown as well. I've been talking the whole gap about a team collapsing, tanking and scoring 2, 1 or 0 points over 9 games. Is that going to be Borough? I wonder. Well, they collapsed in this game and collapsed in the first half quite mightily. Borough 0, Swansea 3. So Swansea join in those chasers along with fellow Welshmen Cardiff and with Blackburn as well. They are right on Preston's heels. Look at the table in a bit. Very, very tight, just outside the playoffs. As I say, all of the damage done in the first half. It was Brewster with 2 goals and then Ayew with a penalty. Ayew's had a really, really good season, hasn't he? So Swansea into 9th place in that slipstream. Borough, you worry about them. They're 21st and a couple of other teams winning down there. We'll look into the fixtures. Borough relied a lot this season on single goal home wins. And the one at Charlton, actually, an away win there. But single goal wins against direct rivals, they've been quite good at that. But not a good result yesterday. Jam N says Borough looked miles off the pace. Swan sat back and controlled it after the third. Did look like an easy win for Steve Cooper and Swansea. Someone going to go on a run. Someone going to, win 6, draw 2 and lose 1. Any of those teams in that chase for 6th place do that, they are in the playoffs. You feel that would be more than enough, sort of 20 points off those 9 games. Moving on to a couple of teams, and now Derby, literally everybody in the top half now below Preston, so 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, all within 3 points. So really, really nice win for Derby. Let's just get a quick couple of other comments here. On Blackburn, Ben says, Blackburn back next season, moving in the right direction. Tony Mowbray, the saviour. Imagine he'd come to Ipswich instead of Paul Hurst. I think things might be different. There, Noel says, a true reflection of the state of Birmingham was the bench. Yes, indeed. Birmingham have, I hope they haven't done a Hull and got rid of them too early, but they've pretty much just gotten rid of all the out-of-contract guys for whoever the new manager is. As Noel says, whoever takes the Birmingham job has a squad to build. But Birmingham pretty much have 12, 13 first-team players and just youngsters now. So, they need to not get suckered in and be that team that tanks, because it would be easy for everyone to catch up in that respect. Dave says, brutal running, though. Who are you talking about, Dave? You're talking about Derby. Was it Derby who had a difficult running? Someone did. Millwall apparently don't have a difficult running, but they lost their first game here and they took the lead. Big Matt Smith with the header. And then, wow, Louis Sibley, bang, 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 hat-trick for the guy playing in the number 10 position. Youngster, I believe he's made 2 starts for Derby and scored 4 goals. So he is looking an absolute star turn. Well done for Philip Koku as well, because we've seen Bird, we've seen Lowe. Obviously, Lampard put Bogle in last season as well. Now Sibley as well. Knight was Whittaker, the other one. Really good load of youngsters for Derby. We questioned for ages, how's Mel Morris going to continue to challenge the parachute teams? Well, if Philip Koku is going to use the academy and they're going to, especially with someone like Rooney around to help mentor these young players, looking very, very good. And Sibley looks incredible, doesn't he? Superb stuff from him. Look forward to more. The pressure is going to be on there. Disappointing defeat for Millwall, who could have been in that Cardiff spot, couldn't they? In the 3-way tie with Preston. Did not quite make it. Harry says, I love how close the league is. It's mad. So many teams can still make the playoffs. Now the entire top half in with a shout. Look, it's going to ebb and flow. Possession is 9 turns to the law. You just got to get into that 6th place spot now. But as I say, 6 wins, a couple of draws, 5 wins, 3 draws, maybe. You're probably going to be in there, aren't you? Any amount of consistency, someone will do it. Sibley played in 6 competitions this season. He looks a player, doesn't he? Bailey asks, how did Rooney play? Dave comes back with poor. Jim says Wednesday for a late playoff run. They may be a little bit far back. It looks like a little natural gap opened up between sort of 12th and 13th. Moving on, QPR 0, Barnsley won. When we looked at the form, QPR went into lockdown in nice form, didn't they? 12 points over the 6 games. But here comes Gerhard Struber. Here come Barnsley. Simos with the goal. Are they going to go on another one of these silly runs? They've done a couple, Barnsley, this year of like 7 points in 3, 9 points in 3. Can they squish up? Remember that bottom 2, Luton and Barnsley, a little bit adrift, but certainly a whole crowd of teams to aim at if they can. Just quickly on that derby run-in, Dave says Preston, Brentford, Forest, Leeds, West Brom, Cardiff, and then I suppose Reading's a nice one at the end. But, well, I tell you what, if Derby get 5 wins, 2 draws and a defeat out of that, they'll deserve everything they get and if they get in the playoffs. But remember, direct rivals indeed. Ben says, who's the biggest surprise in that race? Do you know what? Probably Forest, considering where they've come from and all the managerial turnaround, the fact they're sat up there in 5th. Blackburn have done a good job, haven't they? You'd expect some of the other teams to be in and around that area. Let's go back to QPR versus Barnsley, which Bailey says was a shocker. So Barnsley get the win, disappointing one for QPR. Let's add Bailey's comment there. Barnsley came out ready to play. We came out so slow and uninterested, had a ton of possession, could not create one thing. Hugel, so poor. That doesn't sound like QPR, does it? We created so many chances and so many goal-scoring opportunities this season with Eze in particular. No good yesterday. Let's see if they pick it up. Everyone's got this theory about teams playing in tight stadiums with difficult places to go. Does that affect someone like QPR? I wonder. Good result for Barnsley. They probably need 4 points from the next 3 games to still be in with a challenge as well. Really need to keep that pressure on. I still maintain if Gerhard Struber came 4, 6, 8 weeks earlier, this might be looking a bit different for Barnsley because they just had no results at the start of the season, did they? But have managed since Stendhal was replaced to, have certainly a lot more hope. Quick couple more comments here. Harry says, as a Birmingham fan, not that worried about the squad. Decent amount from Birmingham and other youngsters have been in. Odin Bailey out on loan could be another star. Who's the guy on loan at Pompey as well? Seddon, is it? They've got a left back there who's done well for Pompey, I think. Armstrong, last 20 appearances, is Adam Armstrong 10 goals and 5 assists. Is that true? God, he's in absolutely superb form then, Armstrong, isn't he? Brilliant stuff. Get him on the wing, get him running. That's what we said last time out. Next up, Reading 1, Stoke 1. Reading, well, they could have gone over 50 points here. Yao gave them the lead and then got injured, disappointingly for him. Nick Powell with the equaliser in the 92nd minute. You would have just said Reading was safe already. I know that they're probably going to be safe anyway, but 50 points would have been nice. Reading have been my team who I've been saying I'm worried about going into dead rubber land too early and tanking, but didn't see any sign of it yesterday. Stoke, despite the improvement under Michael O'Neill, they're still right in the relegation zone. And again, 3 teams winning down there yesterday doesn't help at all. They still need, 1.5 points per game probably just to keep hammering it home and making this one safe. Let's check we got any comments in there. No one interested in Reading v Stoke. Let's just answer this one quickly. Do you think it's tougher to play bottom sides instead of mid-table ones? Yes, that's been actually proven, hasn't it? There's stats that will tell you that is true, that at the end of the championship season, you will get less points from the bottom 6 than you will from playing the mid-table teams who get their flip-flops on and they are on the beach. Jim adds, Hull and Borough dropping like a stone. Barnsley could get out of it. Yes, they could, and they do seem capable of stringing together a little run under Struber, don't they? Speaking of a little run, which is not even a little run because it's a big run now, how good are Wigan? Feels like I'm getting deja vu now, talking before we went to the lockdown, praising Wigan, who have just been superb for about 2 months of football now, not counting the lockdown. Off they go to Huddersfield, direct rival, away game, Bosch, clean sheet, win, 2-0, Wigan, do it again. Classic from Paul Cook there. Jamal Lowe, Anthony Pilkington with the goals. Listen to this. Wigan, 4 wins in 5, which is now going to be matching the people at the top of the table, given what's happened this weekend. 7 unbeaten, 21 points in 10 games. Wow, what a run Wigan are on. They are on automatic promotion form now for a sample size of 10 games. Absolutely brilliant stuff. They have pushed up the table quite nicely, haven't they? Huddersfield, like Stoke, they are still up to their necks, as AC/DC would say, up to my neck in trouble. They are indeed. Stoke only 2 points off the relegation. We'll look at the table in a second on Huddersfield. On Reading, Jim says classic Yao. Never get consistency, whether goals or injuries. Wednesday did well to get 5 million from. Looks a well beater on his day, doesn't he, Yao? But his days are few and far between. Ben adds 1.5 million. Adam Armstrong, great bit of business. This Adam is singing from the same hymn sheet. It would be nice to see Blackburn in the playoffs. Obviously, as an Ipswich fan, I'm a big Tony Mowbray fan here. Mally, I may sound fickle, but I leave we will fall apart again, replaced by the Bees. No, it's not going to happen again for Leeds, is it? Huge result. Massive, gargantuan result for Charlton. Probably the biggest game of the day, really, given that really Brentford and Fulham were relying on the top 2 to drop points, which they did. But in terms of teams having their destiny in their own hands, this was the one, wasn't it? Hull 0, Charlton 1. Remember, Hull had dropped like no one's business, like a man out of a plane without a parachute since, God, Bowen left in January. They've been awful, haven't they? It's got worse because they're out of contract, players are not playing. Charlton have had troubles, but they did manage to get Tom Hemed on the pitch. That hasn't happened. That'll ease the hole left by Lyle Taylor and Chris Solly and their refusal to play. And what a great win. Off they go, Charlton to Hull, and get a 1-0. We remember Charlton just dropping into that bottom 3 before lockdown. Well, they are straight back out of it. Pearce with the goal. Brilliant stuff. Smithy says, massive win for us, Charlton. Who needs the snake? That's Lyle Taylor. Well, you obviously do not. Jim has Anthony Robinson staying at Wigan could be great for them. Yeah, he's a very, very good player, Robinson, isn't he? Before we go to the table, I'll just bung this up. Performance of the round. Have a little think. Get it to me in the comments. Performance of the round. Remember, we have, if I can add my 2 penneth worth here, teams winning over direct rivals such as Brentford over Fulham. Cardiff, big win over Leeds, even though they're not direct rivals as such. Big win for Blackburn over Bristol City. Swansea, okay, but that was at Borough. And Hull and Wigan, Charlton and Wigan as well. Get your ideas in for performance of the weekend. Let's, in fact, just move that out of the way of the league table. In fact, I'll remove my little ticker advertising the Patreon as well so we can see the whole table there. Let's start up at the top. So Leeds and West Brom up there tied. 7-point gap up there, 71 with 8 to go. Looking at mid-80s for promotion. Look at the form. West Brom only 2 wins in 6 there and not coming back on great form with the draw against Birmingham. But they've put points. Only team in the top 3 to score a point there. Fulham lost to Brentford, so a good weekend for the Bees. They tuck in a point behind Fulham. And, sorry, I said 4-point gap, didn't I? If Brentford beat West Brom, a 5-point gap with it'll be 7 games to go. Then we've seen bigger things overturned there. Forest getting a little bit caught up, obviously, by the winners there. Cardiff, Blackburn and Swansea all taking 2 points out of Forest this week. They'll need to put some points on the table. Look at those 5th and 6th places. Only 1 win in those last 6 for both Forest and Preston. You need to do better than that to stay in the playoffs. They'll need to put some points on the board. The 3 chasers we have mentioned, Cardiff, Blackburn, Swansea, all winning. Cardiff tied on points with Preston. Now, Blackburn tucked in with Swansea. Bristol City, missed opportunity for them. A win for Bristol City would have put them into 6th, where they have been before this season on 58 points. And missed opportunity for Millwall as well, who were defeated by Derby, who come up on the rails there. Look at that. Derby in 12th, only 3 points ahead of Preston. Then you get that more natural gap. Rangers lost, didn't they? So they are 7 points off the playoffs with 8 games to go. That, we talked about lots of 7-point gaps. If we're going to talk about a 7-point gap at the top, we can talk about Rangers then as a playoff contender. Reading and Sheffield Wednesday further back. Remember, Derby and Sheffield Wednesday both being investigated for FFP. So do need to calculate downwards, -9, -12, -15 for them, just in case the worst happens. Birmingham look like they're going to be okay. Need some wins. Look at that. Draw, loss, draw. Hard to beat, not winning many. Look at Wigan there. Outstanding. 4 wins, 2 draws, 14 points in 6. Only Leeds look like they can better that with 15 with that win streak up there. And then look at this down the bottom. Obviously, we'll reserve judgment on the bottom 2, even though, God, look, Barnsley 4 wins in 6. Luton at the bottom there, 9 points in 6 as well. So it's not like they're in bad form, the bottom 2, but they're just a little bit adrift. But then look at that. Hull drop into the bottom 3, 41. Borough tied on 41, 2 on the goal difference there. And then look, both Huddersfield and Charlton. See, Huddersfield are not out of it there at all, are they? Despite 2 wins. Look at that standard. Look at all the green in that bottom 8, in fact, all the way up to Wigan. Any of those can go, but it does require the chase from the bottom to keep everything pushing on, doesn't it? Let's go back to our previous subject, if I can bring it up, which was performance of the round. I'm hoping, because I haven't just checked the comments, and anybody for performance of the week. Let's have a look here. Massive win, said Smithy about Charlton. They're definitely in with a shout. Dave says got to be Brentford. Jim says Brentford against a direct rival. Indeed. Ben says Cardiff, never easy to beat Leeds. Bailey also says Cardiff, anyone beating Leeds is performance of the week. Ali says, look at Wigan and Barnsley's form. It's very, very strange. I always stick to my argument that if you win 1, draw 1 and lose a couple, you'll move in the bottom 4. But that's not the case this year. You've got to put 7 points out of 4 games pretty much, haven't you now? Anyone else? Harry says Cardiff as well. Jim, Swansea under the radar. Mally adds Hull, Borough and Huddersfield in trouble. Performance of the round. God. Well, we've had Wigan a few times. Should we go for Charlton? Let's go for Charlton as performance of the round. Their destiny was in their own hands alongside Brentford, I guess. But given that Brentford were able to put out the team that they wanted to put out, and Charlton have players on strike and ownership strife and takeover stuff, and Birmingham looking at their manager as well. Let's go for Charlton would be my performance of the round. Okay, that should just about do us for the first championship game week review. Let's bring the right banner up just to finish off the stream. Thank you, everybody, for coming along, getting involved. It's been great. The first sort of 3-4 games with the new output that we're doing here. So check out the channel, subscribe, ring the bell to see when the live streams are happening on YouTube. That's your best bet, that platform. And we'll be live. I think we're going to do 20 minutes before the games rather than 15, so people have got 5 minutes just before to kind of ready themselves for the game. Then we'll be live at half time and a full match analysis afterwards. There will likely be a news update video, maybe Monday or Tuesday, because I've already got this out the way. There are some Premier League games I'm interested in, particularly Sheffield United, Manchester United in the midweek, so maybe we will cover that one. Get your requests in for games you want done. In all honesty, it's likely that I will be doing top of the table next weekend, so it's likely I'll be doing Brentford and West Brom on Friday night and Leeds and Fulham on Saturday, and we'll have a look at Sunday games, I think, Sheffield Wednesday, Bristol City, etc. You can help the channel out by using the Super Chat feature, which allows you to donate and send me funny-looking sticker and whatnot. Or you can, what's even more helpful actually is, as you all know, world's smallest violin. My job, quote, does not exist in September. So I would love to be looking for part-time work rather than full-time work, because I could do this and justify putting half of my hours into this. That would be wonderful. I can only do that with the wonderful support you guys give me. So patreon.com/Benjamin Bloom, or just hit that super chat button here. Anything you can help with would be wonderful. If you haven't got much money, because it is obviously no obligation to give me any money, you can watch for free. That's entirely up to you. But the least you can do for me is hit that thumbs up button and hit the subscribe button just to keep things moving. Noel says, thumbs up, guys. There we go. So thank you, everybody, for watching. Shout outs to Alex there, to Ben, Adam and Eve as well. Thank you, everybody, for joining in. As I always say, very, very hard for me to accumulate all this knowledge without the help of people who are watching Sheffield Wednesday every week, or Reading every week, or QPR, and they feed back the information. Really, really helpful. Jim says, thank you. Great stuff, Ben. I'm sure you can make something feasible. Fingers crossed. We'll see how it goes. Hey, I'm a hustler. I'm a musician. I've been a hustler for years and years. Just be nice to actually be able to go within 2 meters of people and do some work in bars and clubs again, but we will see how that all pans out. Anyway, enough of my ramblings. Hit the super chat button. Go and support on Patreon. That would be wonderful. And don't know the exact plan, but likely update Monday, Tuesday, maybe both. Probably Sheffield United, Man United on Wednesday. Probably Championship preview Thursday, and then West Brom, Brentford Friday, Leeds, Fulham Saturday, and then we're back into the review. So keep in touch during the week. Follow on Twitter at Benjamin Bloom, and Instagram as well. I should plug that, even though I don't post enough pictures on there. Right, thank you everybody for watching, and I will see you very, very soon. Over and out.